Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gail Carson, that's Gayle, GailCarson13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Gail Carson, and my guest today is Rennie Gabriel. Rennie, after 2 divorces and a business failure, went from broke at age 50 to multimillionaire after learning the three secrets of the wealthy, despite failing high school math, he says. He now donates 100% of the profits from his online program to a charity that trains rescue dogs for wounded soldiers. And his award-winning best-selling book, Wealth and Any Income, has been translated into 8 languages. So welcome, Rennie. How are you?
Thank you, Gail. I'm terrific now that I've learned how to use Skype.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I know the things that we're going to talk about today are financial and money, but of course, the thing I have to admit that attracted me to you was your rescue dogs, because I'm such an animal person. So I think it's important for people to know that even though you may be a financial person, and some people don't think that people who concentrate on money are good people, I do think that they need to know that you are actually, you're contributing a lot to our wounded soldiers. So I want to commend you for that. And I guess now we'll talk about money. So what are some of the myths that people believe about money?
Oh, sure. We can talk about that. Can I first give a plug for the charity that means so much to me?
You sure can. Absolutely. I would be disappointed if you didn't.
Oh, thank you. It's called Shelter to Soldier, and they rescue dogs from environments where they could die on the street or from shelters where they might be euthanized. And if they have the right personality and the right physical stature, they are trained as service animals for soldiers who've returned with, whether it's PTSD or traumatic brain injuries or other issues. And our soldiers who've allowed us to do what we do in this country come back and are killing themselves at the rate of almost 22 a day, or almost 1 an hour. And not one service member who's gotten their dog has committed suicide. So this charity saves 2 lives at a time. So I am just honored to donate 100% of the profits from the work I do now to that charity. And because I walked my talk, I don't have to work for a living. And my objective is to raise other philanthropists. And that's the point of why I'm working.
So let me ask you something, Rennie. What happens to the dogs that don't qualify to be service dogs?
Well, they haven't been rescued out of the shelter or wherever they are. But Graham Bloom, who's the founder, has a way of, within 5 to 10 minutes, determining if this dog has the passion and the purpose to be a service animal.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah, he's been in the training industry for many years, and when he found out the kind of connection that dogs and soldiers have, this became his mission. And so I'm just supporting his mission and vision. And so far we've been able to donate about $100,000. And he's able to train the dogs, house the dogs, feed the dogs, take care of the vet bills, and train the soldiers with the dog for less than $16,000. Actually, $15,000 a year is what he is able to do it for. Where if someone went out to buy a trained service dog from some for-profit organization, it would be $25,000 to $30,000.
I know they're very expensive. You're right. Absolutely. Well, that's super. That is super. So now that we've talked about that, and hopefully some of the people listening will be interested in this, what are some of the myths that people believe about money?
Well, the first one and the one that really kind of triggers me is the idea that people should pay off credit cards before they begin to save or invest. And unfortunately, I hear that from other financial gurus. I hear that from CPAs, and it is absolutely the worst suggestion that can be made. And the reason for it is that I fell into this same trap. And what happens is someone has some credit card debt, they focus on paying it off. Let's say they've paid it off. And then some other emergency comes up, whether it's the car that breaks down or a water heater bursts or whatever, and they don't have any reserves to pay cash for it, and it goes back on the credit card. And they go through this roller coaster of paying off the debt, having it come back, paying off the debt, having it come back, and they arrive at an age where they want to stop working, and they have no assets that'll generate an income for them.
So how does someone know if they are spending money in the right place?
I'm laughing because I'm certified as a financial planner, and the foundations, the basics of how to handle money effectively have not been taught to certified financial planners. And it's worse, it's not been taught to certified public accountants either. And so it took me years to dig up the information on how to handle money effectively so I wouldn't stay on this merry-go-round or roller coaster or whatever amusement ride you want to call it. And what I learned is how wealthy people handle money. And they do not focus on paying off credit card debt. They use debt to create wealth. And I discovered this when I was 50 and having to start over from broke. And I kept the credit card debt I had, and I started paying myself first. It's a 5,000-year-old concept. When you and I are gone from this planet, it'll still be working. And after 3 years, I'm age 53, I've saved up $18,000. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it was the basis of creating millions of dollars of net worth, because I put that whole thing with two other people into a 3-unit apartment building that we bought. And that turned out to be a $500,000 value 6 years later.
Yeah, I'm a very big, well, I was a very big investor in real estate with my husband. He passed away 12 years ago, so I'm not doing it anymore. And I've turned everything over to my son. But the whole point is, there is good debt and there's bad debt. So what's the difference? Because usually good debt is something that gives you an income and grows in value, and bad debt is something that, like a pair of shoes that you're going to eventually throw away. So give us your definition of good debt and bad debt.
Absolutely. So bad debt is what I call consumer debt, where whatever it is you charge on the credit card, you are consuming, whether it's a pair of shoes, whether it's a meal at a restaurant. If that's not being paid off each month and someone's carrying a balance, they're creating more bad debt. And like you said, good debt creates an income. Good debt is like the mortgage on an apartment building. It's like the mortgage on any real estate that someone else is making the payments for. So could be margin. There we go. Margin debt in a stock account that allows me to buy more stocks. It may be that we're generating an income from covered call options and things of that nature. So there are ways that debt can create wealth, and that's what I learned from wealthy people.
Wow. Okay. So you say that wealthy people have a different attitude about money. And we talk about attitude a lot on this show. So what is the difference in attitude that wealthy people have?
One of the first has to do with how they listen to information. As an example, ordinary people, when they hear information that they've heard before, something that's familiar, like right now we're talking about a 5,000-year-old concept, pay yourself first. An ordinary person will say something like, oh, I've heard that before, or I know that, or that's not new to me. That's how an ordinary person listens to familiar information, but not a wealthy mindset. The wealthy mindset asks questions when they hear familiar information, such as, how might that apply to me? Or who can support me with this? Or where would I put the money? Or when will I begin this? And that creates the answers that provide the transformation for whatever it is they heard that was familiar.
That's interesting. So do the wealthy use different kinds of forms to track their money and wealth, or do they just assume it?
No, that's so funny because no, they use the same forms we all use, but they look at them differently. As an example, we'll talk about a net worth statement where you have your assets on one side and your liabilities on the other. Well, a lot of people will look at their net worth statement and say, "Ooh, look at how much value is in my home." That's not what a wealthy person's looking at because they're living in the home. And not only that, the home is not even an asset, really. It's a liability. Gail, do you own your own home?
Not anymore. I used to have actually 5 homes, but I sold everything, and I'm now renting in an apartment.
Okay, fine. But anyone else who owns a home recognizes or realizes, or may not have thought of this, but even if the mortgage was paid off and it was free and clear, they still have to pay property taxes. They still have to pay utility bills. They still have to make repairs and maintenance. That's sucking up money. It's not generating money. And so when a wealthy person's looking at their net worth statement, they're looking at what are the assets that can produce an income, not their automobile, not their house, and things of that nature.
Someone once said to me in one of these things that I did that freedom and being wealthy is not having a lot of money. That freedom is being able to do, being wealthy is being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it, basically. And it's not the amount of money that's in the bank or your financial statement or something like that. But it's allowing you to live the kind of life you want to live and not worry. And that's a form of freedom. How do you feel about that?
I feel it's partially accurate. I've trademarked a term called complete financial choice. And what I mean by that is you have an income that allows you to choose to do whatever you want to do. So very similar to freedom. What I'm getting at is that I can choose to work or choose not to work. I can choose to donate to charity or not. I can choose to travel or not. I can choose to eat out or not. I could choose to be entertained in any manner or not. The point is, I do have the money to make those choices, whether I'm working or I'm not working. And so I call it complete financial choice. And the reality is if most people in the United States, regardless of their economic situations, sold everything that they owned and moved to the Himalayas, they'd probably be the richest person in the area. So when we talk about money, we have to put it in the context of where is that person? Are they here in the United States? Are they on some island in the Pacific? Are they somewhere in the Himalayas? That makes a difference as to what kind of money we're talking about.
Well, that is true. So how do you feel about budgets? Do you agree to have one? You're laughing, so.
Yeah, I'm laughing because the questions you're asking are so great. Just the word budget is a lot like the word diet. What are the first 3 letters of the word diet?
Yeah, D-I-E, right.
Yeah, I mean, that's not very enrolling. And people, and me as well, feel the same way about budgets. They're about restriction and lack and sacrifice and deprivation. And so I don't like budgets. What I like instead, which looks similar, is called a spending plan. And what I'm getting at is I want to spend money that's in alignment to my goals. I want to measure the level of pleasure I'm getting from where I'm spending my money. And I actually have a tool that's a part of my course where I can put either a negative sign, a positive sign, or a zero next to any area where I've spent money. And as an example, one of the things that I discovered is that I don't enjoy driving a car. I mean, yeah, it gets me where I want to go. It takes me with my things to some place I want to arrive at. But I don't like sitting in traffic. And I live in Los Angeles, and only
lots of traffic.
You got it. And only since the pandemic has it been somewhat reasonable to drive on the freeway. And so what I would go around from place to place most of the time was on a motorcycle. So when I would fill up my motorcycle with gasoline, I put a plus sign because, hey, this is cool. But if I'd filled up the car with gasoline, it was a negative sign because it took a lot of gasoline. Plus, I had to pay for parking because it's so big and everything else. So what I'm getting at is whether you're eating out, whether you're going to the grocery store, whatever activity you're doing, if you're writing it down in a spending plan and asking yourself some questions like, did I get the value I paid for? Or if I didn't have to work for a living, is this where I'd want to spend my money? Those questions combined with a spending plan allow you to make decisions that determine what you want to do next.
So how does that impact, Rennie, in a family situation? I mean, as a single person, you might think one way. As a couple, you might think another way. As a couple with kids, you might think another way. How does that impact that spending plan based on where you are in life?
It impacts it from the standpoint that it depends on the marriage, it depends on the children. And here's what I'm getting at. I remember having someone in one of my workshops, and she said, I give my husband an allowance of, I don't know what it was, let's say 100 a week, 200 a week. And she said, and he doesn't tell me what he does with the money. I want to create a spending plan, but I don't know what he does with the $200 a week I give him. And what I said is, it doesn't matter. You've given him an allowance. That's a part of your spending plan. What he does with it is irrelevant. You've already tracked it once you've given it to him. And so it depends on how a couple works. One of the books that I published back when I had a book publishing company, actually it was the first one, it was entitled Couples and Money, written by a Dr. Victoria Felton Collins, a psychologist. And there were a bunch of questions in there that were so great for a couple to have a conversation around money and have it be safe. It was sort of like men are from Mars and women are from Venus, only focusing on money. Questions about what was your mother's role in the family finances? What was your father's role in the family finances? Are you like your mother or are you like your father? And when a couple separately asks questions like that, they can come together and understand where each other is coming from when they want to have a financial conversation, and that avoids the blaming. It avoids some of the control issues. I mean, for gosh sakes, more than half the divorces in this country are arguments over money because it's a control issue. Well, neither partner is willing to have conversations about what are the attitudes of the other partner. What are they coming from in terms of their family? What are they bringing with them? Well, when those conversations take place, then they can have conversations that involve the children as well. Because let's face it, children don't know how to handle money effectively either. They can't get it through osmosis. And my parents couldn't teach me what they didn't know. I mean, teachers can't teach what they've never learned. So the problem is no one is getting this from anywhere. You're not getting it from your parents. You're not getting it from the school system. You're not getting it from your CPAs. You're not getting it from your certified financial planners. And so it's books like Couples and Money. It's like my book that provides those foundations that couples can have conversations with each other and have conversations with their children, set up goals for their children. And these are the kinds of things that need to happen in a family.
So where would you recommend people put their money at this point? Would it be the stock market? Would it be Bitcoin? Would it be, you're laughing again.
Yes.
Go ahead.
These are just such great questions because there is no one place to put money until you look at where a person's starting. If a person has no reserves, the first place they have to put money is in a savings account, because if something goes wrong, they need to tap that money to.
And people don't want to put it there, Rennie, because they're not getting any return on that.
That's okay. But the point is, that's better than having it go on the credit card because you have no cash reserves. I mean, would you rather pay cash for something or have it go on a credit card that you can't pay down?
Well, I put a lot of things on credit cards, I have to admit.
Yes, but are you paying the balance in full each month?
No, I am not.
Oh, well, then you and I should have a conversation, Gail.
I am paying a certain amount. I pay, well, it depends. It depends on the credit card because I've got a few of them, but interesting. So but you're just saying don't pay down a credit card. Isn't that what you said?
That's correct. You must pay yourself first.
Right.
And so since I don't know your whole picture, I don't know if that's one of the things you're doing. But the only reason to be using a credit card at this stage of life, and you and I are similar in age, is when we are able to pay the balance in full each month. If we have to carry a balance from month to month, then there are other things that need to be looked at.
Well, now I've just been notified that we have 5 minutes left, Rennie. So first of all, I want people to know how to get in touch with you. So what's the best way to reach you and have access to your programs?
I would. My book title is Wealth on Any Income. The website is Wealth on Any Income. I have a podcast that's Wealth on Any Income. So they could go to wealthonanyincome.com. And if they do /TEDx, they'll actually have my 15-minute TEDx presentation where I talk about Shelter to Soldier. I talk about some of these concepts of the wealthy, and also a 9-step roadmap to what I call complete financial choice. So if they go there, they'll have access to that. They'll have access to me. They can send me an email, Rennie at wealthonanyincome.com. And
by the way, folks, it's Rennie, Rennie.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's not Renee or Kenny or Lenny or Benny. Thank you, Gail. Anyway, the whole point is I'm really not that bright. And like you said, I failed high school math. So the concepts that I use and the approach that I take really has to be simple because I can't do things that are complicated.
Well, your free gift, by the way, is you've got a TEDx talk in there, but your free gift that you're giving to our listeners is the roadmap to complete financial choice and your TEDx talk. And as you said, it's on wealthonanyincome.com /TEDx. So that's important. And give your charity website again.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's sheltertosoldier.org. O-R-G.
Yeah, folks, I know sometimes you're a little queasy about going to people who give advice on money, et cetera, et cetera. But Rennie does such a great job with these service dogs. And, I'm so passionate about that. I think you need to give him as much support as you possibly can. And so forth. And of course, I haven't really told you how to get a hold of me either. So just remember, go to spunkyoldbroad.com and you'll find my store where you can buy my mugs and my t-shirts and my leggings, and you can find my SOB virtual club for women 50 plus, and you can find my SOB University, which is all self-study online programs. So you've got a bunch of stuff there, and you can subscribe to my newsletter. I send out a weekly newsletter every Monday, so you can subscribe to that at the same time. All of that is right there. So Rennie, we have about 2 minutes left. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you think we need to add?
Yeah, probably that it doesn't matter where someone is starting off, because like I said, I started off at age 50 from broke and created millions of dollars in net worth. And I didn't have a good credit score, and I didn't have a lot of money. And what I'm getting at is it doesn't take a lot of money. It doesn't take a good credit score to create wealth. I had to use someone else's credit score when we bought that triplex because mine wasn't good enough. I had to have The quote is, wealth creation is a team sport, not a solo sport. I didn't do this by myself. It requires other people, whether it's their money, their credit score, their intellect, their connections. The way to create wealth is to create a team and not attempt to do it by yourself.
Fantastic. Well, that's really good advice. And I hope, folks, that you'll take advantage of not only Rennie's program, but his charity as well. And, because the more of his programs you buy, the more he can do for the dogs. So, and for the soldiers. So, it's key. And we need that more than ever now. So please do take advantage of that. Rennie, I've seen you and met with you so many times, and I finally got to get you on the program, and I'm so happy that I did. And I think that we have a lot of people who will benefit from what you've said. I'm not sure how many people will take advantage of what you said or really look at their own finances to see whether or not this is something that, they can actually put into practice. But I certainly appreciate everything that you've said today, and I want to thank you for being with us so much.
Thank you, Gail. It's my honor. I appreciate the invitation, and I just, whoever wants to take advantage of it can, and, there are people who will be ready at some point and not ready at another point.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you, Gail. All righty. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at gailcarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbroad.com to see the resources I have for you.